So in 2021, if a good friend of yours, a client comes to you and says, "Hey, I've got some freed up funds at my pharmacy. Where should I focus that tool?"
It really is going to depend on, each unique situation, obviously. But, we like to see, I like to see a cat or a current ratio on the balance sheet of about 2.5, 3 to 1. If there's excess, I want to see it closer to 3 to 1. So when we get a 3 to 1 current ratio, that's where I'm going to be comfortable. So if if this cash has gotten this current ratio, which current ratio is current assets divided by current liabilities. So if it's 3 to 1, you have $3 of cash, receivables, and inventory for every $1 of current debt. So that's a liquidity ratio in a pharmacy, and we all know cash is king in a pharmacy. So if you're at 3 to 1, you have a nice little cushion there, and that's where I want to see a pharmacy. Now, if that current ratio gets 5, 6, 7 plus to 1, which is pretty rare, but it does happen with little debt or something like that, then we're going to look at maybe leveraging it inside the pharmacy, or even going as far as retirement, some high-powered retirement plan options to sock away that cash and lower their taxable income. So great question, but I would take away from that, get to that 3 to 1 current ratio is your number one goal. Once you get there, see what opportunities can come up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, does that open the door to make big improvements in the pharmacy? What if, my debt to income ratio's pretty good? Is that when I should say, hey, I've really been thinking about some automation, or man, we could really use a new delivery vehicle and kind of double on those benefits of reinvesting into the business?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, if you've got that nice current ratio, you can look at those other opportunities, a new vehicle or an additional vehicle, adding some automation. As you know, if you're adding a robot or something like that, you can finance it. Reasonable terms, generally speaking. That's not going to put a huge damper on your cash flow. You'll be able to write off that whole script system or whatever you're financing pretty much in the year you put it into use. So the tax laws are very generous there. You can write off really any equipment as it stands right now with tax law. So obviously, if you got that current ratio, you're going to be able to see other areas that you can invest in your pharmacy. And absolutely.
Yeah. So how does that break down? I know if, anytime you see that big price tag, automation obviously is not it's not a low ticket item. It's expensive technology. How do you kind of get past that sticker shock? Can you talk me into buying some automation for my pharmacy? Talk me into making that $500,000 or that $250,000 purchase.
Well, first of all, we got to know where you stand currently. So I need to know what your fundamentals are, and this goes back to kind of what our firm is fundamental to, which is fundamental accounting. I need an accurate balance sheet. I need an accurate P&L. I need all the balances tied in. Once I have the data that I can trust, because most pharmacies out there don't have the fundamental accounting in place, which is really unfortunate, but it's true. And so we have to get that fundamental data in place. Then we can look and say, all right, what is our current ratio? What does our debt structure look like right now? Can we afford more debt? Do we need to focus on every other things first before we can kind of look at automation at this point? So we kind of go through that exercise. Once we have a grip on the things we're working on, or we're improving, or we've made the adjustments, then we can say, all right, now let's look at this automation piece. And that could involve, obviously, if you're talking about a $250,000 piece of equipment, we're going to look at financing that out. We're going to look at those terms. A lot of the capital leases, if you will, with these financing agreements, they may not be clear on the interest rates. You need to be checking those interest rates. You need to run the amortization schedules, work with your CPA to do that, to know what kind of interest rate you're being charged. But that's just one piece we're going to look at. And again, we're going to try and term that out with reasonable rates and make sure that the pharmacy could afford that payment, which hopefully they could. But we're also going to look at the debt structure in the pharmacy as a whole. Are they using a lot of credits? Do they constantly have a lot of credit maxed out? Do they have 3 or 4 car loans and then 2 or 3 short-term loans? What can we do to consolidate, to get debt restructured in the pharmacy, to ease the cash flow burden, to cut down on interest expense, to lower that payment? And so those are all things we're going to be looking at before we really make an investment of that magnitude.
Right now, we're in tax season. Everybody's kind of like, if they haven't done their taxes already, it seems like we focus on tax season in December when it's too late to do anything. Now, here we are coming into mid-year. The people that have you banging your head against that brick wall behind you in December, what would you tell them, mid-year, hey, do this so that December is much easier on you?
Yeah. So thankfully, we work with clients where we don't have that model. So all our clients come October, November, December, they have an idea of what April 15th is going to look like. So we're doing these proactive planning really all year. So we'll start 2021 proactive planning pretty much right after summertime. We'll start rolling projections out and seeing what we can do for the year to minimize taxes, because the bulk of tax planning is going to come before the end of the year. After you reach the end of the year, and if you're right now looking at your 2020 information, hey, what can I do to help me out for 2020? Your options you don't have a lot of options. So, proactive planning first, but to get there, you got to have that fundamental accounting in place. And that requires full accrual balance sheets. Your tax returns are tied into your accounting file. You've got the processes in place for daily, weekly, monthly adjustments for receivables, inventory, accounts payable. All your notes are tied in. Your margins are tied in pretty frequently with some good solid inventory numbers. You're getting DR fees in there to know what's going on there. Your payroll is reconciled. So all those things really give you that fundamental information to say, all right, this is where we are on a real basis. What do we need to do to mitigate taxes? So anybody out there that's scratching their head, looking back at 2020, start with the fundamentals, get that in place, and get with someone who can help you do some proactive planning.
Thanks for listening to this clip from Beyond the Scripts, presented by the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and clicking the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we post new content. To stay up to date with all of the latest independent pharmacy news and content, follow PioneerRx on your preferred social media platform.